Okay, so 1.2 is talking about complex number. What we learned in previous lesson, we learning about real numbers. Real numbers are the numbers all we can operate in our calculator. We have whole number, we have natural number, we have decimal, everything. So complex number is when you press your calculator, just for example, square root negative 16. What will you get in your calculator? Net error. So it won't define in your calculator. So what have you learned? The number that you learned before in your secondary school, all is under real numbers. So when you reach this level, we will add on. We have to introduce you complex number. So complex number is the things that you cannot define in your calculator, where inside square root have negative. Inside square root, we don't have any negative. If positive, we can operate straight away. If negative, we cannot operate. It becomes complex number. So complex number denoted by C for its category, but normally we'll represent it with Z. So we will write in Cartesian form, or we call it standard form. So Z equals to A plus BI. So A plus BI in this pattern is standard form. Standard form. We have another form to learn, which is polar form, that you will learn in your tutorial. Okay, so we learn about standard form first. With A and B real number, means A and B here is the number that you use. You need it like normal. Okay, like normal. This is like normal numbers that you always use. And I is a imaginary unit. So how we know this is a complex number? It will have characteristic of I, which is a imaginary unit. Okay, so this set of complex number, it category as without imaginary unit is real part. So this is what we call real part. With imaginary unit, this is called imaginary part. Okay, then coefficient for your imaginary unit I, B, that value is calling B. So like real part, value of 2 is real part. If you want to find imaginary part, we will going for 3i. Okay, part first, real part and imaginary part. Okay, in standard form, we will arrange our complex number. Real part go first, followed by imaginary part after that. So sometimes you get a complex number which is not in order. They will give you like this. So you have to rearrange it. It will be real part, follow imaginary part. It should be the right way to represent our complex number. Then, after that, the coefficient of the value of A is 2. The coefficient of I is B. So the coefficient of I is 3. So means that here we can know value of A is 2, value of B is 3. Okay, so you say if A is 0 means real part doesn't exist. When A is 0 means real part doesn't exist, and B is not 0 means B has some values here. Then this complex number is called pure imaginary number. For example, Z equals to 3i. So you don't have real part. A is 0. B is some number 3. So you can see here, it doesn't have real part. So this kind of complex number, we can call it pure imaginary number. Pure complex number also can. Purely, you don't have any real part involved. So now we're going to see what is imaginary unit. So imaginary unit is defined as square root negative 1. So when we have it square, so when we have I square means square root negative 1 square, it will go back negative 1. So from here, I is equals to square root negative 1. I square is equals to -1. So this is the value that you always need to familiar with it. Okay, how we convert it? Just now the undefined numbers, right? Undefined numbers on your calculator, right? How we convert it to the complex number? So you have to separate out the imaginary unit. So where square root -16 is square root 16 times square root -1. So square root -1 represented by I. Square root 16 now is become real number back. You simplify, we get 4. So multiply together 4i. So another example, you can see square root -3. How we get -3 means it will be square root 3 times square root -1. So -1 is I. Square root -3 is a irrational number. We cannot simplify anymore, right? So we don't let it in decimal, present in decimal. So we present it in square root 3. So this number is third number, third 3. So I is beside. Imaginary unit is beside.